there is a photograph that has been seen by millions of people around the world. A man, alone in the back of a car, eyes wide, hunched forward, leaving a police station on his 66th birthday. This is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the man who was once Prince Andrew, Duke of York, the Queen's favorite son, and what you are looking at is the moment the British establishment could no longer protect him. But here is what most people don't know about that photograph. There are people who watched everything Andrew did for years, who were with him in the same rooms, on the same trips, inside the same doors. People paid by the British public to guard him. Police are now looking for them, and what they might have seen could change everything. To understand where we are now, you need to understand the speed of what has happened in just the last 6 months. October 2025. King Charles strips his brother of every title. No more Prince. No more Duke of York. No more HRH. A formal process announced from Buckingham Palace that had simply never happened in the modern era of the British royal family. February 19, 2026. Andrew's 66th birthday. Officers from Thames Valley Police arrive at Sandringham Estate at dawn. He is arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The charge: that he passed confidential government documents, trade reports, sensitive briefings directly to Jeffrey Epstein, while he was serving as Britain's special trade envoy from 2001 to 2011. He was held for 11 hours, released under investigation, not charged, not cleared, and then within 48 hours, something happened that barely made headlines. Scotland Yard announced it was contacting former close protection officers, the men and women who had been assigned to guard Andrew, the ones who had been in the room. That is where this story gets a great deal darker. These were not ordinary security guards. Andrew's close protection officers were Metropolitan Police Officers, part of the Royalty and Specialist Protection Command, known as RASP, highly trained, armed, on the public payroll, reporting ultimately to the Home Office. Their mandate was not just to stand next to him. They assessed risk. They managed access. They accompanied him on every official trip, including those tours he made as trade envoy between 2001 and 2011. The same tours where, according to released Epstein files, confidential briefing documents may have changed hands. They were there. That is why Scotland Yard's statement on February 21 was so significant. Police said, and I quote, they were identifying and contacting former and serving security officers who may have worked closely with Mountbatten. Those officers had been asked to consider carefully whether anything they saw or heard during that period of service may be relevant. Think about what that sentence is. Asking it is asking people who worked directly alongside a member of the royal family, who were bound by strict confidentiality protocols and a deep institutional culture of silence, to come forward and report what they saw. That has essentially never happened before. The question that investigators are circling is this: when Andrew maintained contact with Epstein after his 2008 conviction, when Ghislaine Maxwell had access to royal residences, when meetings happened that should never have happened, who was standing outside the door, and why did no one say anything? One analysis described it as an accountability vacuum. Taxpayer funds, estimated at up to £3 million annually, were spent protecting a man who, police now allege, was undermining the very government that employed him as an envoy. The officers were state assets. Their silence, whether ordered or instinctive, may have shielded conduct that is now the subject of a criminal investigation. And here is what has happened since. The investigation into Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been formally named. It is called Operation Ironville. If you know anything about how British police investigations work, that name matters. Operational codenames are not assigned to minor inquiries. They are used, as sources close to the investigation confirmed to The Times. When a probe has grown into something substantial, multiple lines of inquiry, intelligence from different directions, separate teams working simultaneously, and the charges being considered have expanded significantly beyond the original arrest, police sources told The Times that the misconduct in public office charge, the one Andrew was arrested under, carries a high legal bar. There is a question over whether he was technically a public official at the time he signed, or did not sign, certain documents. So investigators have opened what they described as a, quote, scoping inquiry into alleged sex trafficking, and are examining potential corruption offenses. Sex trafficking, corruption, these are not the words that were in any headline the morning after his arrest. This is an investigation that is getting larger, not smaller, and internationally, governments are now moving. Australia's Prime Minister wrote directly to Keir Starmer, confirming support for legislation to remove Andrew from the line of succession. New Zealand followed. Canada's Prime Minister called his actions deplorable. A YouGov poll found 82% of British adults want him removed from the succession line. He is currently 8th in line to the throne. That may not be true much longer. There is another dimension to this story that is rarely discussed. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has two daughters, Beatrice, Eugenie, both princesses, both mothers. Neither has been accused of anything, and both are, according to royal sources, going through what one commentator described as a complete and utter personal crisis. Prince William is said to be cold-eyed about the institution, unsentimental. His reported position toward Andrew is one of firm distance, but those close to William say he carries genuine sympathy for what Beatrice and Eugenie are living through. He understands it from his own childhood, watching his parents' marriage collapse in public. King Charles, meanwhile, is said to be the only senior royal who still privately cares about Andrew as a brother. But Charles has also made something crystal clear: the law must take its course. He has given police his full cooperation. He did not visit Andrew at Sandringham after the arrest. The message from the palace is not subtle. The institution is distancing itself. Andrew is increasingly isolated, surrounded by a handful of remaining allies, staying in a small cottage on the Sandringham estate. A man who once lived in a 30-room mansion and dined with heads of state. This is what the fall looks like from the inside. So we come back to that photograph. Andrew Mountbatten, alone in the back of a car, shell-shocked, leaving a police station on his birthday. The investigation is widening. The bodyguards are being contacted. The charges on the table include things that were never publicly discussed even 6 months ago. Here is the question I want to leave you with, and I genuinely want to hear your answer in the comments. If the people assigned to protect him saw what investigators now believe they saw, who were they actually protecting? The royal family has survived scandals before, but this one is different, because for the first time in this story, the machinery of the state is not closing around Andrew. It is closing in on him. Operation Ironville is still running. The bodyguards haven't all spoken yet. And CHOGM, the Commonwealth meeting where the succession vote could happen, is scheduled for November 2026. This is not over. If you want to follow every development as it happens, subscribe and hit the bell, because we will cover every chapter of this as it unfolds. I'll see you in the next one.